So today I started reading the reports coming out of Virginia following the shooting, and a number of which, two of which were brought to my attention, discussed the idea that had the student population at the school been armed, with the concealed weapons that they had been denied, they would have been able to prevent this tragedy. And one report went so far as to say that the delayed response in bringing down the shooter, as people like to say, was in fact orchestrated to give ammunition to the anti-gun movement, which I think is a repugnant argument, and people who make such arguments really should think carefully about those who died yesterday. However, I have to address the scenario that these people are fantasizing about. They're saying that, somehow the student population, when faced with this threat, would have risen up in a coordinated response and brought down, or neutralized, as they would have liked to say, the threat, where we really know what would have happened. Half a dozen bleary-eyed students would have pulled guns from their pockets, hearing the loud noises and screaming, not knowing really where the threat was coming from, seeing other people pulling guns around them, and then the shooting would have started. And if you think 32 people is too many to die, can you imagine the bloodbath in that scenario? Because whatever training, goes with learning how to fire in a straight line, crisis management is not necessarily among your skills. I agree, guns don't kill people, but I think ill-informed people, when given the ability to kill other people, sometimes do. And a gun is a tool that can turn a moment of weakness, a moment of fury and anger into something that can last a lifetime. It's terrible when a guy decks his wife, or two guys face off in the street and pummel the crap out of each other, but generally everyone gets up afterwards and we can deal with the consequences. But when somebody's fury pent up just has to find vent, and they're given the ability with a pull of a trigger to take away somebody's life, it's bound to happen. Now there's three words that the gun lobby tends to use to describe its population. They use the words trained, law-abiding, and responsible. And I want to focus for a moment on that word responsible, because responsible is not just about your own actions. Responsibility is not just about the actions that you take. It's a community word. It's a word where an entire community takes responsibility for its own values. And I think the gun-owning public has not taken responsibility for its own actions. I think it's proven over the decades it's unable to control the market of these dangerous tools that they believe it is their right to purchase and own. Apparently these weapons begin their lives as legitimate devices sold to legitimate people, but then they go astray into the hands of this other population who is apparently not responsible, not law-abiding, and not trained, and that's when people start to die. Well, frankly, if you have a certain market claiming the right to own such devices and claiming to have a free market in these devices, then that market takes responsibility for the guns that go astray and end up in the hands of the wrong people who kill individuals who have no interest in this market of weapons. I think it's obvious, we don't allow people to have rocket launchers in our society. Why? Because we don't think that people are responsible enough to own them. We think there's no room in our society for somebody angry to start firing off a weapon that can take down buildings. Frankly, I don't believe that there's room in our society for guns either, because it has been proven that people are not responsible enough to own them. Society cannot responsibly own guns, and therefore we should not have them. Now, I understand the fear that motivates the gun-owning public, the fantasy that you will be able to save your own life, the life of your family, the life of your children, by your own hand when threatened by somebody else carrying a gun. But the truth of the matter is that the proliferation of guns in society makes your family unsafe. The more weapons there are, the more incidents like those we had to endure yesterday are going to be with us. And I think that's a tragedy that we can choose to avoid. Thank you.